morning, traders. We are about 3 minutes away from the New York session open. And I got here my charts. So 1 hour chart on the NQ, 5,000 tick charts, and 1,000 tick chart. So my game plan here is to watch this area. I think there is a good chance the market will revise this right after the open, if not during the session. And then we're going to look for our setups around key points, key support and resistance levels, okay? Those are the high probability trades. And we'll see. 2 minutes to the open. Right here, we might actually have a setup that might pop up right after the open, even though I don't like take trades, within the first 5 minutes, but sometimes if it's a really good setup, let's say if I get here a massive engulfing candle or a reverse pin bar, either on the 1,000 ticks or 5,000 ticks, I might take it, so we'll see. And I'm only trading one contract, so I am working to pass Topstep combined challenge, a 50,000 account, and let's keep going. Less than a minute. And there we go. Slow start. See that the London high has been touched a couple of times, but it's still holding strong. All right, this is the moment of the truth. So let's see if something happens, interesting happens here. Okay, it might just go straight up. Who knows? It's a very strong uptrend recently. I'm liking this, the short side, yeah. Okay, I'll take a short here. All right, so I got my targets. That was a very cheap trade, so I should probably have, waited to close the gap, but that's okay. Yeah, we have a small gap down here. And I like to move my trades to break even as quick as I can. That was almost like a perfect pin bar. It wasn't as good as I wanted, but then I saw the engulfing happening here, starting the 5,000 tick chart. That for me was interesting, Okay, so key line of resistance, the London high, and turns out we are also on a downtrend here, at least on this last 24 hours, let's say 12 hours, and yeah, I got a signal bar confirming here on the 5,000 tick chart was on its way. And yes, looks like my exit was actually not bad, but I suspect we're probably gonna head down here. At least we can close the gap. You see. then we could potentially be looking at longs around this region here if we get a really strong signal, because even though the last 12 hours or so have been bearish, we still have a very strong uptrend, right? So yeah, there's a chance it might be revising the highs again. So, and we are pausing here on this H4 Fibonacci golden ratio. I marked this up in my game plan video that I posted today about 40 minutes ago. Yeah, so if you get a really strong signal as well to the downside, I might take it here on the short, but I don't know if you get this. This was almost like a perfect engulfing, but I would rather have a bigger body. Okay, gap is about to close. Gap closed. Now, we are in pretty much the no man's land territory from my perspective. I don't usually like to trade trades in between levels like this unless I have a really strong signal bar in a key. This is the 50 EM exponential moving average and the 100. So if I see a very clear downtrend and I touch one of these EMAs, then I might take a trade, and assuming the signal bar is really strong and also there is some confluence with the 5,000 tick chart. But that's not the case right now, so we see. The best ones are, on those key support resistance levels. Yeah, a lot of waiting. So my trading style is to wait for the markets to come to me. So yeah, I try to really not rush anything here. So we see. Okay, just got your key level. previous day's close. And we're also very close to the previous week value area high. I'll probably want to see price to dive a little bit deep here to get in this region here, touch the previous week value area high, and then we'll see how it goes. There is also, I should have mentioned this earlier, the value area of the previous day, which is the value area, for those that are new here, it holds 70%. 70% of the volume of the previous session, of a given session. In this case here, because it's the value area of the previous day. So that's the previous session, yesterday. And there is a good chance the market will want to at least touch, the value area low here, okay? If not, and then of course, if you get inside the value area and we close a 5-minute candle inside, there is a very good chance that it's gonna fill the whole area, okay? So we see. And because we are on a strong uptrend on a daily chart, so I could say that we have a good chance that this happens today. Another important point of confluence, that point of interest that I like to mark on my charts is the IB range. So we started, I'm gonna move here to the 5-minute chart in this, and 7:30 p.m., 7:30 a.m. was the New York Open, which is 9:30 a.m. I am right now Mountain Time. So we start the day right here. So I like to keep track of the high and the low of this session, because this is the IB balance, okay? So IB high and the IB low. And then I like to sync these in my charts, because after the first hour, at exactly 10:30 a.m. Eastern time, or my time here is going to be 8:30 a.m., then we are going to lock in this IB high and IB low, and then we're going to have trading setups around this level. So if you assume the IB high ends where it is right now, that's going to be interesting, because it's very close to the London high. It's going to be a very strong area of confluence. And I'm going to be looking here either for a break and retest to the upside, or potentially a short, depending on the signal I get when the price starts here. So we see. Yeah, but the value area, the IB low, most likely is going to change here. So quite a bit. So we see. Okay, it's getting interesting here. Okay, interesting pin bar for me. Let me see the 500 stick chart. Oh, yeah, probably need another touchdown to see if you have a trade set up here. I don't like this bar very much. moving the eye below. There are some indicators that you can use as well depending on your charting platform for the IB range. Remember that no trade is also a trade, right? Way better to be flat than losing money. All right, okay. Interesting golfing here. That's looking beautiful. Yeah, I'll take this. It's gonna be rough at 1 to 1 here, so you see how it goes. Could also target the high here. Let's see. Yeah, one mistake I made here is that I should have waited this bar to be breached, right? I should have probably put. I don't sometimes take limit orders because market tends to move too fast, especially these key areas. But yeah, I should probably have waited to make sure that this bar would be breached, right? So once it breaks the high of this bar, of my entry bar, then I would go. So now that I look again, this engulfing was not exactly perfect. Was the engulfing candles at these key levels? The way I like it, it should overlap 2 or more bars. Okay, that's good now. And I'm going to move to break even just in case because again, my entry. Okay, it's moving well. Let's see now. Yeah, I go through candles to overlap two or more bars. All right, so we close break even, that's okay. So you see if you can get another entry signal, otherwise we're gonna pass and wait for a different setup on a different level. I also try to avoid taking multiple trades on the same level because, especially if I get a loss, right? So if I get a loss, let's say if this turn out to be a loser, I would just skip this level altogether because it could be entering an area of choppiness, consolidation, then historically, let's say if I take a loss here, oftentimes I get more losses on that same level because again, there could be something happening here that's leading to choppiness, right? So it's just low probability. So one of my rules is if I take a loss, I will skip that level. I don't take another trade on that level. Wait for a different level to take another trade. Wow, I'm glad I moved my entry to break even because yes, I'll have stopped out pretty much. About a tick actually. Yeah, sellers are totally in control right now. But this is a very interesting level. So I'm not exactly looking for shorts, but look at this. It's a very powerful engulfing candle if you close like that. Potentially heading to the previous week point of control. Shorts are looking interesting, but I don't have any signal on this 1000 tick chart. And if I was to enter here, my risk would be a bit too high. So no, I don't like that. This would have been an interesting one to go short, but again, too close to this major support, so I will not take it. We might be heading to the London low. We'll see. It is going to be interesting if you get here. Maybe go all the way to the previous week value area. I don't know. Very low. Okay. I'm not gonna take any longs here. The day right now is clearly bearish. So the only setup I would take is if this price comes back close to these EMAs here, I might take a shot if I get a really strong signal with some confluence on both charts. So that's one setup that I would take here. Or I'm also looking for longs around this area here. If you get here and also get a very strong signal bar, yeah, and then I'll do that. Otherwise, I'm just enjoying my coffee here. Yeah, let just talk about the trade and my previous trade here that turned out to be a break-even trade. So, like I said, I like moving my trades to break even, very early. It, of course, there are pros and cons. So this was clearly like a good call today, but you're gonna see me sometimes moving to break even just to see the market comes back to break even, and then shoot really high to take profit, or above, right? So that happens. So you gotta learn to live with that. So my stats have shown me that doing like that, okay, moving to break even actually helps long term. What I might do as well sometimes is just wait for, let's say if I have a 2 hour target, so I'm gonna wait for price to go to reach 1 hour, and then only after 1 hour I move to break even. But this, I didn't feel confident to do that today here. The way the market was moving, and also because of my signal bar. It was just kind of counter trend as well if you think about it, based on the what's happening in this session. So we are on a strong uptrend on a daily chart and on a bearish trend in the New York session. So yeah, one could say it's a good recipe to stay flat. It's a good reason to stay flat. All right, interesting here. That would be a nice, very nice short signal here. Yeah, I think I'll take it. I'll take it. My track is gonna be this slightly above the previous week one control. Yeah, looks like I'm gonna get stopped out, so that's okay. The entry, the signal bar is just perfect. I have no regrets. I could potentially have waited for a pullback on the EMA. That's okay. Stopped out. So no more trades on this level. But if you get above and close to the EMAs, and I get a strong signal, like I bought this one. I like to call this like a brick engulfing candle, right? It barely has any wicks, and it engulfs several candles, right? This is just perfect. But of course, it doesn't always work. I could have moved my stop loss actually under this one here. That would also be a good idea. Well, my risk would be a bit too high. It's too much for me. So, and oftentimes this the way my stats, that I have is just work by itself. Right? The stop is usually below this is enough. No regrets. You just work. It's a numbers game. It looks like market might be going finding my way here. And that happens, guys. You get stopped out only to see the market goes your way. It's been a very slow session so far, which makes me think we might be heading to it's going to be a choppy day probably. Very slow. I usually like to trade the first 2 hours of the New York session. So those are where we have the longer overlap. So we have the highest volume liquidity, and yeah, after that, so I sometimes trade the power hour. It's the last hour of the session, mainly because there is a setup that I like, which is if price is really close to the high or the low before that last hour, then there's basically stat that price rarely will break the high or the low of the session in that last hour. So that means if price is trading very close to the high or the low, I like to fade that. So there's basically make a trade so that the price can go back kind of towards the middle, or at least a few points. Shop, shop, shop. going to move my IB low again. We're about 26 minutes from the IB range to be locked in. And again, because I had a loss here, I'm not gonna take any trades in this level anymore. I'll wait for the price either to come down here and give me a strong signal if that happens, or maybe come back up for an opportunity for another short again if I take a strong signal. Otherwise, I'm just staying flat and enjoy my coffee. Which is already cold, by the way. Okay. Finally breached the range. Let's see what happens next. I'm just gonna adjust my longer low back tick here. Okay. For a potential long, I would like to see some sort of confirmation on both charts. The only caveat here is that sometimes price tends to come here and snap back up really quick. So you might not get a chance to join that. So let me see. Yeah, when you get to ranges like these, oftentimes you're gonna see some false breaks until eventually it goes in the direction that it wants to go. So yeah, it looks like this was just another one. We might see if a reversal happens here now. Yeah, it might be happening. Oh my gosh, look at this. Yeah, that's okay. Well, if you touch this is my 100 exponential moving average. This gets a little bit closer to this level and the exponential moving average and give me a strong signal. Potentially, shorts would be an option. I think this is too early to call a reversal here to the upside because of the level, right? We're just in between the long and low. Although yes, that's the previous day low. That's actually important level. Anyway, let's see how this plays out. So I'm not taking longs here right now. I would rather wait this to come back down a little bit more and give me a signal on this chart so I can take actually a smaller risk. So let's see. Very bad in bar, not too close to the 100, so yeah, not in bar. I'm almost at doji now. Bulls are getting in control. All right, if you're gonna give me a short signal, that would need to happen right now. Or potentially one more bar. Let's see. So I like to see three things when taking a trade. I like to see first direction. So right now, we're on the downtrend, right? Until intraday, at least, next session and the session before. So shorts are my number one option. And then I need location, okay, so which would be like an area of support resistance. And third, I need entry signal, okay, which is going to be usually an engulfing candle. I like engulfing candle that actually overlap two or more bars, or very strong, good-looking pin bar, like for instance this one here, right? This is a perfect example. And no signal bar, no entry bar here. This is a terrible bar. Yeah, I'm gonna wait a bit more and see if the market can come to us. Otherwise, there's no trade. And I'll keep moving this I below. And close about 15 minutes. Locking this level. stat around the IB range is that the very first touch of either the IB low or the IB high, and again, it's just the very first touch has a very high rate of rejection. But from my experience, sometimes rejection is just like a pointer or less. So sometimes not really worth it. If it's in line with the trend, then I'll take it. Sometimes I just put a limit order right in the IB low or high. But again, it depends on the context. And coming back to this trade that my last trade, yeah, if I had moved, if my stop was here, that would have turned out to be a break even, right? Because the moment I got this string here, I would move to break even, then yes, that would have been a bit better. But yeah, it would not be like a winner for sure. We're still around the range. Okay, we get another opportunity for a short. That would be a very interesting location. 100 EMA and a key area of resistance. So we've got direction, we've got location, then we're missing an entry cylinder. like watching paint dry. Very different than the acid recession. Alright. Key moments. Oh, still not a good bar. If there was a red thing, I probably would have taken it. It's super high, so I want to. Then yes, I would have waited for the price to reach that below that candle as well. Let's see what happens. We might touch the previous day close before it comes down, or it might knock him down and just that was the bottom of the session. So we see. If that was the case, we're just gonna wait for a pullback. This was going on a 5-minute chart. Wow, that's it. I like that. So I'm gonna wait. I'll put a limit order here. Stop sell. If we breach, I mean, I don't like the movement that's happening here. So it's basically breach this one here. Yes, okay, I'm in. Stop here. And I'm gonna try to little bit more than, yeah, even though we have this day low, that's a big resistance, so let's see. Yeah, no, I'm gonna try it here on this area because I don't give chances. Yeah, it's a lot of indecision here. Not looking good though. But I like the weeks. Big weeks are a good sign, so we see. started to close. Okay, awesome. We just got on the green. Yeah, I have. I'm happy with that one, and the target was also reasonable. You might continue going down here, straight to the long and low, or previous week you'll see. But that pin bar was excellent. I just don't like much this action that happened right after. Usually I like those the straights just move straight away in my direction. So, but it's never the way you want, right? It looks like I got my target pretty much by the teeth. Wow. And we are 4 minutes away from the IB range to be locked in. Yeah. Hopefully we're gonna get some interesting setups. So that was a perfect example of looking for direction, location, and an entry signal. Now, of course, if I'm going to look for a long here, I am going against the direction of this daily trend. Yeah, basically, it's not daily, the session trend. But that's okay, because I'll be looking, again, that will be on a very key area of support, and look to join the daily trend, right? So if you look at the daily chart, we are on a very strong uptrend. Even though, yeah, the last 2 days are consolidating here. Get into a range here. Yeah, since the July 3rd. One minute for the IB range to lock in. All right. It's 8:30 a.m. Mountain Time, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. So that means our IB range is now set. So I'm just gonna put this bar here. This is the 7:30 a.m. This is where we started the session. And so how do we play that? So it looks like we might be looking for a reversal here, right to the upside. We might. It's actually not clear on the 5,000 peak chart. So you see here is still, if the price, for instance, touches the 50 EMA here on the 5,000 peak chart, it might still bounce back to resume the downtrend. So we see. Anyway, this is a no man's zone for me. Something like that. Unless, again, if I have an extremely clear signal to the downside, okay, like I go to 15 a here, that's likely like a 200 MA on my 1,000 peak chart. But to be honest, I don't like those setups as much. They have a lower probability because they're not by a key support resistance level. So, but I would like to see, for instance, this is going to be a very, very, very strong area for of confluence for an ancient signal. So either up or down here, right? So like I said, heavy range is already set. Price can still have a long high in that heavy range high. So I'll be looking for either short if it shows a rejection right away, or if it breaks and then a breaking retest. That we're going to play again. And I always need to see an important and an interesting signal. Okay, we might be getting a nice E-bar to go along. That's counter trend on my 5,000 peak chart. It's an interesting level. No, it's not E-bar. See, wait for this to close. But I probably will wait for a few more tests here. Make sure that we have on trend. And some sort of confirmation as well on my 5,000 peak chart would be best. If you're definitely going to resume on trend, we'll see. Now, when it comes to the downside, let's say market decides to come back to these levels. That's another extremely important area. Here we have three levels that are all together. So if we get a massive P-bar or engulfing on one of these areas, I'll be in totally. Okay, that's my preference, to go on. Almost, price may just reversing and just break through this level and give me a short signal. So you see, anything can happen, guys. Anything can happen. Just keep this in mind. This is a quote from Mark Douglas. Probably my favorite trading book ever. Yeah, Trading in the Zone. That's the name of the book. This engulfing bar was right here, the top. That might have been like a good entry signal for me to short. No, not in this location. Perfect brick bar. So you can go brick bar. I like that. But again, it's nothing. It doesn't have the right context. So it goes to the top of the overlapping a whole bunch of bars. The direction of the trend, of the session trend, and the key line of resistance. Right? So that would have been very interesting, but no, nothing so charts. Just it's likely just a lag as well, right? A lag in the bigger downtrend. So yeah, which is playing out right now. We see. If this setup is not 100% clear, you just don't trade it. That's all I like to do. That was almost a good entry bar to go short, but yeah, I would rather have a bigger wick, smaller body. And if you ask me, compared to the engulfing candle, I would still prefer if it wasn't engulfing candle. So right now we are in a zone where it's not exactly clear. You see here, there's an uptrend here starting to form. But on the other shot, you still have a downtrend, and we are potentially just closing a lag. Uh, like just closing this lag here to resume the downtrend. So I don't like that. Mixed signal. Once you have mixed signals, best thing, from my perspective, is to stay still on the sidelines. Yeah, getting into consolidation. Yeah. Again, if you wanna really like only focus on high probability setups today, especially now, right now, yeah, we have two wins, one break even, and one loss, so it's a green day. So probably just wait again for price to reach these areas here, the extreme one. Okay, here are the highs and the lows here, and then nothing else. That's probably the best course of action here. If you want to make sure you don't give back your profits. Because again, if you're going to take a trade, so first of all, this H4 Fibonacci golden range line, this is a level that, just talk about this for a second, right? It's a level there's no confluence here. Actually, yeah, there is some confluence in terms of recent touches. Okay, that's good. But if it was a level that also overlaps or a level like a VA high or low or long, that would have be much stronger from my perspective. So again, what I'm trying to say is that I'm not going to trade off this level. I'm actually Yeah, because we are doing the day, I'm not gonna risk. I'm just gonna delete the live because I don't wanna pay attention to it today in this trading session. So that's what I'm gonna do. I like to use it sometimes so it doesn't stay in the way to give me to tempt me to take a trade that I shouldn't take. Okay, because it's gonna be lower probability anyway. And so what I was also trying to say is that let's say if you were to take a trade in this region here, okay, so there's no key areas of support resistance here. Then I would have to solely rely on the EMAs, okay, to take some entry signals because of guard direction and their location. Okay, so my location would be again because I need the direction, I need the location, and I need an entry signal. With those three things, you get some high probability trades. So if I were to take trades in the middle here, I would have to rely on the AEMAs for my location. Okay, so for instance, my 1000 chart, I want to see price, for instance, like here, right? I do be touching the 100 MA or even the 50 with an extremely strong signal. Let's say if I get a weak engulfing bar that overlaps two or more candles, that would be a very interesting one. So potentially I would take that, but it's still lower probability than taking trades around those areas, right? So another approach that I take sometimes is I'm green for the day. The market is showing some signs of sideways action, choppiness. And compared to yesterday, we had way more action. We are over an hour of the New York trading session, overlapping London, so this is the area we have the most action. And yeah, it's been a slow day. So one approach that I often take as well is okay, I'm already green. Let me just lock my profits and be done for the day. So that's an approach that I'm starting to consider as well, based on this slow market that's happening here. Potential might just come later for, like I said, for the power hour, just to see if price might be reaching an extreme again, the higher or low of the day, just to fade that movement. Well, lower risk because I don't want to give profits back to the market. So let's see. I'm gonna wait a bit more because oftentimes when you get very prolonged periods of consolidation, it's not the case yet, but we'll see. So after those periods of consolidation, things should have some really, really fast movements, strong movements. So it might happen, it might not. So just have to wait. And I like sometimes to check the 5 minute chart just to see what's going on there. And those figures not anything going on. forward movement here. Okay, I should also have mentioned that we have this swing here that happened in this session. So it would be interesting. I know I had this golden ratio there removed, but just out of curiosity, I want to see where we are. Okay, right now we are 50% of the range. And we already passed the golden ratio of that swing. Yeah, we could potentially be looking for a short here this level because there is some confluence, right? So there's confluence here with the previous day close. The only caveat again is that the market, as I put it right before, the market might be looking to break this and resume the daily uptrend. Shorts are a little bit less and less interesting now, unless we get here. So here we are in a key area. We are at the 50 EMA. And again, some interesting signals here. Holy cow, it's getting interesting. I'm tempted to take another short here. If you get a strong signal bar, but probably I would need like an engulfing, a very strong engulfing candle. Because again, I don't want to give back my profits. The market is still pushing now. So you know what, I'm gonna pass. Yeah, I'm gonna sit on my hands and wait to see if the market will just give me like a A plus setup, triple A plus setup, something like that. No rush. Straight up. One could go see this a very cheap shot here, right? Low probability because they have a signal bar. Because there are these extremes, you just like take a short, like the half point stop, and just look to get here. But again, without signal bar, it's pretty much a gamble. You're almost like trying to catch the top. And I've done this before, guys. My gosh, I blow so many accounts catching tops and bottom. It's a hard approach. So this can also be seen as a potential inverted head and shoulders. Actually, no. So actually, we should have more action. It needs to become actually head and shoulders. But anyway, yeah, not quite. Very interesting. That was just a bit too fast, right? So, but that would have been a perfect engulfing. And okay, consolidation is over. And some action, as I told you guys. So once you these consolidations, the longer it takes, even though it wasn't actually super long, but yeah, we see some big action happening here now. It might be heading towards these areas. But again, if this was if I have had some time, much days as you guys will not take this trade, but this would have been a perfect setup, right? So look at this. You go for like 4 candles, 5 candles, and yeah, dang, it was a 1 to 2 easily. Yeah, it was too fast. You didn't have time to do that. Okay, there was another signal here to go short. If it close, okay, but I'm not gonna take it. I'm gonna wait. See what happens these levels if you get here. Yeah, it's really choppy. So this one would have been better, of course, if it had completely overlapped the previous bars, right? So it was a beautiful brick engulfing bar, but in the context, it isn't a good line of support, but it just it doesn't overlap fully, right? So especially this one, yeah, I don't like that. Market doesn't know where it wants to go. There is something interesting that I realized when I was looking at the daily chart. So we had this massive rejection here. So price breakthrough to new all-time highs, and they closed with a extremely bearish. You couldn't call it. You're rarely going to see a bar that's more bearish, right? So in some way, so we are on an uptrend for several weeks, months in a row. But this basically signals that actually gives a strong signal that today could be actually a bearish day. So that's very interesting. Yeah, oftentimes when we see a candle like that, especially on a higher time frame, you should expect at least the next day to close red. So there is, I would say, a good probability that today is going to close as a red day. It's already red, right? And potentially we might reach down here, right? So the previous week value area low. So we see. right, so we are forming a pretty big pin bar here. Might be a bit too early. We'll see. Sometimes I also like to trade this. Okay, so you see there's a whole bunch of weeks. Trend is clear, and then they're touching like a 50 or a 21 EMA. Sometimes I like to take some cheap trades really close to these weeks in the direction of the trend. Oh yeah, we just closed that pin bar. Interesting. But I like the location. We're still in a downtrend, so I would rather have these down here, okay? Or maybe if you go higher here again and take another strong signal to the downside. But we'll see. I'm actually starting to really feel that I should lock for the day. Because that's also very choppy here. Bears appear to be very much in control. If you look at what happened in the session so far, we open here. So we just barely touched the London high, and then went straight down afterwards, right? Pretty much nothing happened. We just like retraced 50% and we're coming back down. So if we were to just try to, let's just try to draw some channel here. There you go, see? I don't like doing that. I used to do this a lot, but they don't, these kind of channels, they break a lot, they're not super reliable, okay? So that I don't like to do this very often. Because it leads you to make decisions based on a channel, and the channel again, there are infinite ways to basically draw these channels. Oftentimes you're gonna get it wrong. You don't see that there's actually a different trend going on. So anyway, but just to give you an idea. And I used to trade those channels by themselves, and it wasn't good. You also might also consider that because it has been a very slow day, we might actually not reach these extreme levels here today, right? We might just consolidate, shop around these levels, which is gonna it's a sure way to kill accounts, and then eventually, potentially afternoon, okay, during Asia or the next London session, then we go reach these higher lows and potentially trade lower or higher. You see. So that can happen as well. Again, just be prepared because anything can happen. One big mistake that I used to make in the past, it took me a while to really learn from that, is that not not having a strong bias about anything, right? So you might have a bias, that's fine, but don't get too attached to it. Okay, so for instance, I would start my day with a strong bearish bias, and I would only be looking for shorts because I was sure that price would reach a certain level, right? And then price would just keep going higher and higher in my mind. Oh, there's no way it's going to continue going higher. It's just going to go down. So I know it's gonna reverse anytime. And I'm constantly trying to pick the tops, right? And losing, taking loss after loss after loss. So yeah, it's strong opinions weakly held. That's the way to say it. It's from a quote from the Market Wizards. One of the traders in there. I don't remember his name, but anyway. Again, we're just resuming the consolidation. And I'm going to call it a day, guys. Um, yeah, from my perspective, this is a very slow day, and there is a risk we will continue this shop. And you just need to always be ready to trade another day, right? Live to trade another day. That's the name of the game. So we're green. I think overall, it was, even though it's low, it's been a good session. And thanks for watching.